We all admire the greats, the people who seem to effortlessly excel in their fields. But what sets them apart? What makes them different? Is it raw talent? Is it grit? Is it determination? The answer might surprise you. It's taste.
Nobody tells people who are beginners, and I really wish somebody had told this to me, is that if you're watching this video, somebody wants to make videos, right? And all of us who do creative work, like, we get into it, and we get into it because we have good taste. Do you know what I mean? Like, you want to make TV because you love TV. You know what I mean? Because there's stuff that you just, love, okay? So you've got really good taste. And you get into this thing that I don't even know how to describe, but it's like there's a gap. That for the first couple of years that you're making stuff, what you're making isn't so good, okay? It's not that great. It's really not that great. It's trying to be good. It has ambition to be good, but it's not quite that good. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, your taste is still killer. And your taste is good enough that you can tell that what you're making is kind of a disappointment to you. You know what I mean? Like, you can tell that it's still sort of crappy. A lot of people never get past that phase. A lot of people at that point, they quit.
We all have a gap between our taste and our ability. It's the difference between what we appreciate and what we can currently create. And that gap can be frustrating because you've been exposed to something that is amazing, but you feel like you don't have the capacity to actually create something as great as that. And sometimes it can drive you nuts because you have to keep creating to measure up to that which you've been exposed to. So how then do you close that gap faster? Number one, curate your input. Think of your mind as a garden. What you feed it matters. So you have to be intentional about what you consume. You have to always, chase after high quality, whether it's books or media, podcast, music, anything that helps you grow in your own field. Just think of things that actually, challenge your assumptions, forces you to want to be better, and doesn't just make you feel like, oh, you're doing great work. I mean, you're doing great work, but you have to always think of consuming, work that actually challenges, your current state. Number two, analyze and dissect. Don't just consume passively, become an active participant. This means that when let's say you're exposed to a piece of content, you're asking yourself, okay, what makes this work for me and what makes this not work for me? Why do I love this? Why do I not love this? Does this make sense to me? Does this not make sense to me? And the more you do that, the more you realize what you actually love and what you're naturally drawn to. And it's not that you're drawn to it alone, it's the fact that it's solid work. It means that over time you're building your own taste palette, and then you're also creating some sort of identity for yourself, because you're not just taking everything hook, line, and sinker. No, you're saying that I love this about X, I love this about Y, I don't like this about X, I don't like this about Y. So if you put together all of what you like, it means that you're creating some sort of identity for yourself. And again, it's also good work or quality work. So you're not just creating an identity, you're creating some sort of identity to aspire to. Number three, explore and experiment. This is very straightforward because you have to constantly, expose yourself to new people, to new things, to new ideas, even fields that are beyond, your current field, right? Just expose yourself to it for some time, see what you can learn from that, and then what makes it applicable to your current situation or your current work, right? Because if you're stuck in the cocoon of, okay, this is just my field, I'm just gonna keep playing in this field, you're never really going to create a work that is diverse, and then you're also not going to build a taste palette that is actually wide enough to be able to, try different things at different points in time. Number four, reflect and refine. Don't spend your entire life just, consuming and consuming and consuming. Take some time off from, consuming any piece of content, media, books, podcasts, or anything. Just take time to build your own, should I say ideologies, right? So you've maybe for what usually works for me is I every quarter, at the end of every quarter, I take like 3 weeks or 1 month where I'm not listening to anything new. I'm not consuming anything. I'm basically just writing down what I've learned in the past 3 months, and then just analyzing those things, like saying that, okay, I've learned how to do X from from this person? Is this really, essentially it goes back to what I said earlier about, not just being a passive participant, becoming active when you're learning, but then it's also important to take some time to reflect, go out, discuss your newfound knowledge and ideologies with people. Let them challenge those things, let them challenge the hypothesis you've come up with. And the more you do that, the more you realize that you're defining something like an internal style guide that sort of helps you along the way. And number five is take action. This is the time to put your refined taste to work. And you have to be careful of something I call knowledge paralysis, which is basically that you've been exposed to all of this, great work. You've learned, you've read books, you've listened to podcasts, you have this head knowledge about your subject matter. But there's this paralysis of that. You look at what you know and know what you can do, you see the gap and you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can actually pull this off. But you shouldn't put yourself under that kind of pressure because, like I said earlier, the gap will always exist, but you have to constantly take action. You have to do the work to be sure to move closer to closing the gap.
It takes a while. It's going to take you a while. It's normal to take a while, and you just have to fight your way through that. Okay? You will be fierce. You will be a warrior, and you will make things that aren't as good as you know in your heart you want them to be, and you'll just make one after another.
And one thing I've learned is that as you expose yourself to excellent work, you start to see the world differently. You start noticing like tiny details that you never really noticed before. You start to appreciate like very, very almost negligible details about certain things. And eventually, what that does for you is that it helps you overall become a well-grounded person because you see work and then you can tell how much of work went into actually producing that great work. And for you personally, it means that you're almost never in a comfort zone because as you continually refine your taste, you realize that you can do so much better. But then what that also does for you is that you look back and you see like the thread of how far you've come. And that's very, very encouraging because you look back and you're like, oh my God, this is what I started with and this is where I am now. And then, it means that every time I want to upgrade myself, I can because I've done that before, right? And that's it, right? And that's technically all I have for you today in terms of just always constantly expose yourself to excellent work, identify it, refine, talk to people about it, take action, dissect it, and then don't just be that person who is not satisfied with where they are without doing anything about it. And then thank you for watching this video. And if you like what you see, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and share with somebody. See you next week. Oh, I forgot something. And this is what I've been thinking about lately.